We've seen over the last 20, 25 years, a growing gap in Canadian productivity vis-a-vis our OECD comparators. Instead of graduate students working on a traditional research, we said, what if we could get industry to tell us really big challenges they face, make that the core of the students' research.
Today we are looking at the future of Canada's competitive edge. In 2026, the global race for intellectual property is accelerating, and the question remains, is Canada doing enough to turn our brightest academic minds into economic powerhouses?
Don't be scared to reach out, because there's a lot of bright young people out there looking for big challenges, and often those are the people who have the best ideas.
This episode is brought to you by Katana, inventory software built for growing product brands. Once you're growing and adding sales channels to your list, Shopify, Amazon, wholesale, retail, inventory gets a lot trickier. Katana makes it easy for you and syncs your stock automatically across every channel and location, so your numbers are always accurate in real time. It cuts your manual work to almost zero without any of the setup overhead or cost of traditional ERP software. And you can try it for free. Just head to katanamrp.com and start your free plan today.
Hello everyone, this is Kripa Anand and welcome to the CanadianSME Small Business Podcast. Today we are looking at the future of Canada's competitive edge. In 2026, the global race for intellectual property is accelerating, and the question remains, is Canada doing enough to turn our brightest academic minds into economic powerhouses? Joining us today is Dr. Arvind Gupta, a professor of computer science at the University of Toronto and the CEO of TICAN. Dr. Gupta has served as president of UBC and CEO of MyTax and has been a key innovation leader for the federal government. He is here today to discuss a brand new approach to building an innovation economy through his newest venture, TICAN. So before further ado, let's welcome this very special guest. Dr. Arvind, it's such a pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Kripa. Nice to be here.
Now, Dr. Gupta, you've been at the center of Canada's innovation policy for years, right? Yet we still see a gap between our potential and our global standing. So let's start the conversation by understanding why has Canada lagged in innovation and what has been the missing part from the strategy? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. It's a very deep question. We've seen over the last 20, 25 years, a growing gap in Canadian productivity vis-a-vis our OECD comparators, definitely with the United States. We've also seen that since about 1997, Canadian industries have been spending comparatively less on research and development than their counterparts abroad. And one of the impacts of that is that we're not seeing as many innovations coming out of Canada.
Right.
And therefore, we're not building what's called the innovation economy. We're not selling those types of innovation solutions to the world.
That puts a lot of things into perspective, right? Because shifting from a resource-based mindset to a knowledge-based one is clearly the only way to, stay relevant on the world stage. Now, let's explore why investing in research and development is, critical for Canada's future. As you mentioned, why do you think R&D investment is important and how does it benefit the Canadian businesses particularly?
Yeah, so we know that the best way of increasing our standard of living is to increase our productivity.
Yep.
And while we can, keep taking lots of resources out of the ground, unless we do things more efficiently, we're not going to get this increase.
Yep.
And that means investing in research so we can figure out better ways of doing things. The reality is that because Canada is seeing the shortfall, over time, what do we see? We see our dollar falling. We see living standards not staying up. We see incomes not staying up with other countries. We see many countries that 50 years ago were well below us in standard of living now go past us. So I think we have to ask this question: what can we do to stimulate more innovations coming out of Canadian businesses? How can we build markets for those innovations so we can sell to the global stage?
Very well articulated, and of course, R&D becomes the base of doing all these things. Protecting and growing Canadian intellectual property is one of the brightest ways to ensure our firms aren't just consumers of tech, but also the creators of it, right? Now, let's discuss how TICAN is connecting graduate talent with innovative companies out there. Firstly, I'd want to start a little bit your background. How did you get to doing what you're doing today? I'd love for you to, take this opportunity to educate our listeners about your extensive background. I know I mentioned in the bio as well, but from entrepreneurship to education and now TICAN, connecting these two worlds together. So where does the story start from?
Yeah, so if we think about innovation, it's really three components.
Yeah.
There's talent, there's capital, right? So take talent generates the ideas, capital, then you use money to turn those ideas into technologies, and then markets. You have to be able to sell that. But it all begins with talent.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking for a long time, how do we better deploy the very bright people that we have in this country? We are unique in the world in attracting a disproportionately large number of very bright individuals to Canada. How do we better use that talent? Because if we can get that talent deployed properly, we will see great technology coming out of this country. And I believe if we have the right technologies, then we can sell it on the world stage. So it's really what I've been thinking about for a while.
To the founders and tech leaders watching, in 2026, talent is the only currency that matters. We have world-class researchers sitting in our universities, and TICAN is the bridge that brings them into your company to build your IP. This is a federally funded opportunity to accelerate your R&D without the traditional barriers. If you want to scale your technology and protect your margins, you need the brains that are coming out of their graduate programs. So don't let Canada's brightest talent move south. Embed them into your firm and lead the next wave of innovation.
Hey, you think you know UPS? Yeah, that's us. Everybody knows that. You know what you didn't know? This. Okay, try to keep up. Ocean, us. Ground, rail, air, so us. Guess who? Us. Customs cleared, borders cleared, done. Us. You still with me? Wait for it. Boom. Us. Intelligent, automated, fulfillment. Us. Yep, healthcare too. Digital your thing? Yeah, well, book it, ship it, track it. You feeling me yet? Yep, that's all us. That's all UPS.
Finally, when you started TICAN, right, what was the biggest objective? And when you finally told the students around you as well, what was the reaction? So how did that conversation go?
So TICAN is built on a model that we've been experimenting with at the University of Toronto, where we take graduate students and instead of them working on a traditional research so graduate students have to do research as part of their degree. Instead of doing that the traditional way, we said, what if we could get industry to tell us really big challenges they face and make that the core of the students' research? And once we started doing that, and once companies understood that we have these very bright people, they can take on these big problems, it was really this whole avalanche of ideas coming from industry, many students from around the world wanting to come and work at the University of Toronto on these ideas. But the big thing we saw is that these companies would just snap up these students right away. They didn't let them go to Silicon Valley. They didn't let them go to Boston. They said, we have to keep that talent here because these people have these brilliant ideas. So we said, well, if we can make this work in our domain, could we make it work more broadly? And that's how TICAN came about. Is there a way that we can engage the entire graduate student body across Canada to start developing these great ideas?
Wow, very interesting. And that's a genius idea, right? Because people are any company's biggest asset, right? So if you're getting that part sorted, the growth is going to take care of itself. That's great. I'm loving this because when I started my journey in this country as a student from York University, I was hoping that, there is something like this that can change the game. So, with the years ahead, what's your vision with TICAN? Where do you want to take this?
Well, what we want to do is engage a very large cross-section of students from different disciplines,
Yeah.
working with the private sector, developing great ideas.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make sure there's a seamless flow of those ideas into those companies. So we want to make sure the barriers aren't there
Yep.
to flow those ideas so those companies can effectively commercialize them.
Mm-hmm.
And if we do this right, those companies will then be empowered to sell these great technologies that they're getting out into the world. Now, I'm simplifying this because, of course, it starts with a company thinking, here's something big we could do.
Yeah.
But then you often have to turn that into a series of research projects for our students.
Yeah.
The company then has to bring those students into their own shop to keep working on those to the point that you actually have a viable product. But if we can make that whole flow work well,
Mm-hmm.
then we will take a lead. And I mean, the reality is that, if I look in Europe, if I look at the Fraunhofer Institute in Germany, if I look at what the French are doing, even the Americans, this kind of thinking you can see in their innovation space. We're trying to take it and systematize it so it happens everywhere in the country.
That is a very mind-stimulating conversation, I must say, because this is not just going to change how students get hired, but also how businesses intake the new wave of talent, right? So from a business perspective now, majority of our listeners are owners and founders of SMBs, right? So if a business wants to explore this, take us through the entire roadmap. How can they get connected to TICAN? And then how will TICAN solve this issue for them?
Yeah, so we start by talking with businesses, understanding the problems they have.
Mm-hmm.
We dissect those problems into saying, these are the parts that require more advanced thinking by our graduate students.
Mm-hmm.
These other parts, maybe there's a solution off the shelf. Maybe this is something that you can develop with your current employees. So we really work with them to make, as you say, a whole
A
roadmap.
tailored solution for each.
Right.
Okay.
So it's tailored.
Mhm.
Once we know the actual questions that must be asked, what are the pieces that are not known to make this great technology work? Then we can figure out which are the right students. Is this a chemistry problem? Is it a physics problem? Is it an engineering problem? We can find the right students. One nice thing about the TICAN model is that those students are also being mentored by an academic expert who really knows the state of the art in that area.
Mhm.
So it's that student working with the academic expert, working with the company to develop that solution. We encourage companies to then think about bringing that student on as an employee,
Mhm.
because then that person already had the original ideas, then they can much more quickly develop them into a commercializable product.
As I said, each time you're going around it, it's striking me how genius this is, right? And I can't wait for this to take over Canada, North America, Europe, and eventually the entire world. So wishing you all the best for that. And opening this pipeline to innovative small and medium enterprises, it also ensures that growth is distributed across the entire Canada, right? That's great. Finally, let's explore how today's decisions on talent and innovation will shape the future economy. So let's do a little time travel. Imagine if I were to give you a time machine right now and say we were to go 5 or 10 years into the future. When you get out of that time machine, how exactly do you envision the Canadian innovation landscape changing? So what do you see?
First, I think a lot of our small and medium enterprises, we're going to see them grow.
Hmm.
We're going to see them become large companies.
Yeah.
We're going to see them have global presence
Mhm.
and start spreading their wings beyond Canada. And what that does, once these companies become large, you'll see a whole ecosystem of small companies then springing up who become suppliers to these large companies, what I call innovation supply chains.
Right.
And that's the nice feature of this, so that as companies grow, they'll tap into the energy of small companies who have new ideas.
Mhm.
And then you have this self-fulfilling cycle of companies just growing and making us all better off.
Wow. You painted quite a picture there, and the future definitely looks very promising. Seeing Canada as a global leader in original IP and technology development is a vision that every entrepreneur can get behind.
Yeah. I was going to say, my motto is we should say, Canada, we think for the world.
Now, I'm loving this conversation, and definitely we'll invite Dr. Arvind Gupta one more time for a deeper discussion. But for now, before we let you go, if there's one final piece of advice that you'd like to stay with all the business owners, specifically if they're feeling overwhelmed about the lack of technical expertise, if you could whisper one thing into their ear, what would you say and why?
Don't be scared to reach out,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot of bright young people out there looking for big challenges. When you're 21, you think you can take on the world.
Right.
And often those are the people who have the best ideas.
Definitely. That's very well said. That's a great reminder that collaboration is the fastest path to breakthrough. Dr. Arvind, thank you so much for being here and doing this.
Nice to be here.
All right, that was Dr. Arvind Gupta from TICAN, a masterclass in why Canada must bet on R&D and academic talent to build a worthy-class innovation economy. To all the listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and visit CanadianSME.ca for more such resources. To learn more about how we are supporting the ecosystem, please visit the Canadian SME Small Business Foundation at smbfoundation.ca. And lastly, a very special thank you to our partners, UPS and ADP, our HR partner, for their ongoing commitment to empowering SMBs across Canada. I'll see you all in the next episode. Kripa Anand signing off.